Hey everyone, and welcome to Wolpin's Gaming Den. Today we're going to unbox the game Pax Transhumanity, designed by Matt Uckland and published by Ion Game Design and Sierra Madre Games. Now this is a quintessential big game in a small box kind of a format in here. As you can see, the form factor, it's a pretty small box. I mean, it's the length of it is less than the length of my hand. And normally, if I would have a big spot game in here, I would usually have much more of the size of the table sort of like filled up with that. So it's definitely not a large game. Now it's a little hefty for its size, but obviously if you've played any of the PAX games, you know that these are not the lightest games out there. So there's definitely, I expect a lot of meat to the bones on this one in terms of gameplay, potentially in terms of rules overhead as well. But hopefully that adds to the enjoyment of the game rather than taking away from it. Now, what does the theme say? It's humankind's, next renaissance. What if Hollywood and the doomsters were wrong and the future is non-dystopian? Well, that's a good start. So basically, we're imagining a world where things haven't gone to hell and high water and things are not quite as bad. The game is, for 1 to 4 players, expected to be played in roughly 1 to 3 hours. So maybe largely dependent on the number of players. I don't know. I haven't gone through the rules yet. But I definitely expect good things from this one because I do have PAX Emancipation. I've quickly gone through the rules for it. I haven't played that yet. Obviously, that's a different designer that, if I'm not mistaken, is Matt's dad. So hopefully the talent for game design runs in the family. This is the first game from Matt that I will be playing. So I'm looking forward to this one and hopefully expecting a lot of good things from this. So without further ado, let's crack into the shrink and see what we have inside the box. Right. So, with the shrink off, some of it is still left here. It looks like we definitely have a very pleasing design overall. You can definitely see sort of like a futuristic world in here. This looks like a small robot. I mean, initially you might from a distance think it's a kid, but looks like a robot. Holograms, so definitely we're in the future. More holograms, I assume. Futuristic structure, so definitely sort of like a sci-fi future, but again, a positive one as opposed to, where war has broken out or the robots have taken over and whatnot. Overall, like the art style, although it might be a bit difficult to make out the details simply because it's a small box, so there's not a lot of details on it to begin with. And then on the back end, we've already seen this before. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I like it when you have sort of like a big, chunky, meaty game crammed into a small box. It's always fun. So first thing we have is a bag with a whole bunch of different wooden pieces. So we're going to crack into this in a second. A bunch of Ziploc bags. We don't need to worry about that for now. We have 2 sets of cards and a rule book. Yep, we have a rule book. And we have, what is this? Is this an aid? Might be an aid of some sort, 2 actions per turn. I don't know if this is a play rate because there's only 1 of these. These might be the individual player boards, so you can play as the doctor, citizen, colonel, blogger. These might not be play boards. I think these are probably a general game board kind of a thing. You have space, you have first world, you have developing world, cloud. I'm assuming that they mean, data in the cloud as opposed to the cloud in the sky kind of a thing. Yeah, so there's only 1 of these, so, maybe pass it around, I guess. Or maybe have it laid out somewhere in the center. We have a punch board, so I'm going to quickly check what's happening in here. They're all punching out quite easily. And thickness, if we can make it out, it's pretty standard. And they're small as well. Again, it's a single cardboard and a pretty small box to begin with. So, yeah. I mean, I think they do the job of what is expected. But again, they just simply have text printed on it. Not really a lot of artwork on these tokens, but that's fine. So that's that. Let's have a quick look at the rule book before we go into the different pieces. And again, small size rule book, but do not be fooled by it because there's a lot of rules to get through if you want to get to the game. Right. So opening up, what's the game about? Overview, meta rules, 5 arenas of play. As you can see, a lot of text in fairly small font. So yeah. And here we have the game area setup. So yep, so those were definitely sort of like general play area locations, individual play card, market cards, I assume. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of these page by page, but it's definitely light on artwork and visuals in here, and definitely heavy on the text that's in this. And then in the back we have Rosetta Stone, so sort of like a glossary by the look of things. There is an actual glossary here, so never mind. Right, so yeah, definitely a bit to digest by the look of things at first glance. So, you know, we'll crack into that at some point in the future and see what's happening in there. Now, in terms of the wooden pieces, what do we get? So we get standard cubes in 4 different colors. I assume these are for the 4 individual players. Maybe we can just have a look at one. We don't need to go through all of these. The cubes feel not decent size. These are chunkier cubes. These are not small cubes, so that's good. But they're pretty standard wooden cubes, so don't expect a lot of fancy stuff in there. And then we have discs in the same 4 colors. I'm assuming these are for the 4 different players, so that's that. So these are the wooden pieces that comes in the box. And of course, now we go to the main ones, which is basically the cards, because that's where the bulk of the game is, I would assume. So let's crack into it and see what we have in here. So cardstock is good. Patents. Again, I don't know what these cards are, so I'm not going to guess what these are, but these names certainly correspond to the game boards we saw earlier, so maybe it has something to do with that. So that's these cards, and then these all look to be the same, so let's have a look from this side. So here we see the artwork that we saw in the game box, so that's there. Now these are landscape oriented, all of them. Yep, these are. Full transparency government. We get to see icons, we get to see some artwork. Yep, so let's quickly maybe go through these. There are different colors on the banner as well, which I assume probably means different things. Artwork generally looks quite good. I mean, it's lacking in detail to some extent. It's not very highly detailed, but overall aesthetically pleasing enough. That looks nice. Yeah. I mean, some of them boil down to basically being fancy graphic designs or artwork. So video playing by the look of things. Yeah. I think overall I'm pretty happy with the artwork on it. I don't see a lot of repetition. In fact, I haven't identified any repetition in here. So potentially these are all unique cards that go into the game itself. We have a second deck. I assume there's going to be a lot of the same stuff in here. And judging by the back, it does have the same artwork on the back. Continues for the entire deck, so maybe it does. And then looking at the front. Yeah. So again, maybe I'll just zoom in very quickly for some of these artwork so that you can tell what's happening in here. I'm just going to randomly select some of these. Yeah, so again, these are all good. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, lacking a certain level of detail. I've definitely seen artwork with more detail than what we can see here, but that's fine. Yeah. Right, so that's it. I mean, from a component wise, it obviously doesn't look like there's a lot happening in here, but we definitely know based on the weight of the game and the rule book that we just had a look at earlier on that there's certainly more to things than meets the eye. And that's pretty much everything you get in the box for Pax Transhumanity. Generally, I would say fairly happy with the quality of the components. The card stock was good. Artwork on the cards were decent. The cardboard counters were average, but again, there's only a few of them, so hopefully it's not much of an issue. Playboards on the smaller side. But given the fact that you have such a small form factor for the game box itself, I'm more than okay with that. I maybe wish they were a little bit chunkier, but it is what it is. This one is a bit odd, so we're just going to have to figure out how this is going to work at the table. And other than that, pretty happy with it. That's everything that's in the box for Pax Transhumanity. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in other videos related to board gaming, unboxings, reviews, tutorials, and video games, as a matter of fact, I have a lot of those going up pretty regularly, so check an eye out for that. Do subscribe to the channel. That's going to bring you up to date on everything when and as it goes up. In the meanwhile, thanks for watching, and I will see you at the next one. Take care.